Max lived for gaming. For him, the world outside faded away as soon as he sat down at his desk, the soft blue glow of his monitor lighting up his face. The hum of his computer was a familiar comfort, and the click of his mouse was like a heartbeat, steady and reassuring. In the quiet of his room, Max found a sense of belonging that he rarely felt anywhere else. Gaming wasn't just a hobby. It was his escape, his passion, and his connection to something bigger than himself. Every night, without fail, he'd log in and meet his online crew in their favorite game, Dungeons of Doom. It didn't matter how tough his day had been or how late it was. The moment he heard the familiar chime of the game's login screen, he felt a surge of excitement. The crew was always there, waiting for him, ready to dive into new adventures. Their laughter and banter filled his headphones, making the distance between them melt away. Together, they explored dungeons, battled monsters, and celebrated every hard-won victory. There was Jake, the leader of the group. Jake had a knack for strategy and always seemed to know the right move, even in the most chaotic battles. He was the one who rallied the team, kept everyone focused, and came up with plans that somehow always worked. His voice was calm and confident, and the others trusted him to guide them through even the toughest challenges. Jake's leadership turned a group of friends into a true team, and Max admired him for it. Then there was Mia, the tech wizard. Mia was a genius when it came to the game's mechanics. She knew every shortcut, every hidden path, and every cheat code. If the team ever got stuck, Mia was the one who figured out a way forward. Her quick thinking and sharp reflexes saved the crew more times than Max could count. She was always tinkering with her setup, optimizing her gear, and sharing tips with the others. Mia's passion for gaming was infectious, and her skills made her an invaluable part of the crew. And then there was Ben, the funny one. Ben had a joke for every situation, and his laughter was contagious. No matter how intense the game got, Ben could always lighten the mood with a well-timed quip or a silly voice. He kept everyone's spirits high, even when they were facing impossible odds. For Max, Ben's humor was a reminder that gaming was supposed to be fun, and that winning wasn't everything. The crew's inside jokes and shared memories made every session feel special. They were more than just online friends to Max. They were his team, his support system, and his second family. Through countless late-night sessions, they'd built a bond that went beyond the game. They celebrated each other's victories, picked each other up after defeats, and shared stories about their lives outside the screen. For Max, these friendships were real and meaningful, even if they'd never met in person. The crew gave him a sense of belonging he'd always craved. One night, as the clock ticked past midnight, the crew decided to tackle their biggest challenge yet, the dreaded Caverns of Sorrow. This dungeon was infamous in the Dungeons of Doom community. Few teams had ever made it through. The stakes were high, and the tension was palpable as they gathered in their virtual lobby, discussing strategies and sharing nervous excitement. They knew this would test their skills and their teamwork like never before. Legend said the caverns held a powerful artifact, one that could change the course of the game for anyone who found it. The artifact was shrouded in mystery, rumored to grant incredible abilities to whoever possessed it. For weeks, the crew had talked about attempting the dungeon, but tonight, they finally felt ready. The promise of adventure and the chance to make history was too tempting to resist. With their headsets on and their game faces ready, they geared up, strategized, and dove into the unknown. The familiar comfort of their voices gave Max confidence, but deep down, he knew this would be their toughest challenge yet. As the virtual doors to the Caverns of Sorrow creaked open, the crew braced themselves for whatever lay ahead, ready for anything. Or so they thought. The caverns were dark and twisting, filled with traps and monsters. Max carefully followed Jake's lead, trusting his friend's judgment. They finally reached a rickety bridge over a seemingly bottomless chasm. One by one, they started to cross. Suddenly, the bridge started to crumble. Max felt a jolt of panic. He was only halfway across. He looked back, hoping his friends would help, but to his horror, they were gone. The bridge vanished with a crash, leaving Max stranded. Fear quickly turned to confusion, then anger. Why would they leave him? Had they planned this? Max tried to message them, but his messages wouldn't send. He was completely alone, trapped in the game's most dangerous area. Hours crawled by. Max battled monsters, his anger growing with each victory. He swore revenge. They would pay for what they did. He would make sure of it. Exhausted, Max stumbled upon a hidden chamber. It pulsed with strange energy. As he reached out, a jolt of electricity surged through him. His vision went white. When he opened his eyes, he wasn't staring at a screen anymore. He was in a real forest, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. But this was no ordinary forest. The trees shimmered, and strange creatures flitted through the undergrowth. He was trapped in another world. Max's eyes fluttered open to a world unlike anything he'd ever imagined. He soon learned he was in Sylaxis, a realm where magic pulsed through every leaf and stone, and danger lurked behind every shadow. The air shimmered with energy, and the very ground beneath his feet seemed to hum with ancient power. It was a place of breathtaking beauty, but also of unpredictable peril. A land where the rules of reality were rewritten, and the impossible became possible. The electrical surge that had struck him back home had somehow transported him here, tearing him from everything familiar. As he wandered through the glowing woods, Max encountered creatures straight out of a storybook. Animals that spoke in riddles, sprites that played tricks and vanished in bursts of laughter, and enormous shadowy beasts whose eyes glowed with intelligence and menace. Every step brought a new surprise, and Max quickly realized that in Sylaxis, nothing was ever quite as it seemed. But the greatest shock came when Max discovered he possessed incredible new powers. With a thought, he could summon fire to light his way or call down lightning to defend himself. He found he could teleport short distances, slipping through the fabric of space to escape danger or reach hidden places. These abilities felt both exhilarating and terrifying, as if the realm itself was reshaping him, unlocking potential he never knew he had. Even more astonishing, Max realized he could understand the ancient language of the forest. The trees whispered secrets in voices only he could hear, and the runes carved into their bark glowed brighter when he focused on them. It was as if Sylaxis itself was guiding him, offering cryptic advice and warnings, helping him navigate its mysteries and dangers. With each challenge he faced, whether outsmarting a cunning sprite, escaping a prowling beast, or deciphering a riddle, Max grew stronger. He learned to trust his instincts, to harness his powers, and to believe in himself. Every victory, no matter how small, built his confidence. The once ordinary young man was becoming something more, a survivor, a hero in the making, shaped by the trials of Sylaxis. Yet even as he adapted to this strange new world, a shadow lingered in his heart. The betrayal of his friends back home still burned in his mind, a wound that refused to heal. Their faces haunted his dreams, and the sting of their actions fueled a storm of emotions, anger, sadness, and a longing for justice. Max clung to the thought of revenge, letting it drive him forward through every hardship. It became the fire in his veins, the force that kept him moving when hope seemed lost. In the magical, perilous realm of Sylaxis, Max was determined to grow stronger, not just to survive, but to one day return and confront those who had betrayed him, no matter what it took. After what felt like an eternity, Max found a hidden portal. It pulsed with the same energy he felt before. Taking a deep breath, he stepped through, hoping it would lead him home. He materialized back in his room, bathed in the familiar glow of his computer screen, but he was different. Gone was the scrawny, unsure teenager. In his place stood someone stronger, hardened by his ordeal, and honestly, consumed by a burning desire for revenge. Max logged back into Dungeons of Doom. His friends were there, laughing and joking as if nothing had happened. The sight made his blood boil. He sent them a message, his words dripping with icy rage. "Meet me at the Caverns of Sorrow, now." His friends, sensing his anger, hesitantly agreed. They didn't know what awaited them. They didn't know the power he now possessed. They would soon learn. When they arrived at the bridge, Max was waiting. He stood tall, his avatar radiating an aura of power. He recounted his experience, his voice trembling with suppressed rage. He described their betrayal, his words cutting through their feigned ignorance. His friends tried to explain. They said it was a glitch, that they never meant to leave him, but their words rang hollow. Max could see the guilt in their eyes. They knew what they had done. Max unleashed his fury. The anger that had been simmering inside him for days finally erupted, raw and unfiltered. He had been betrayed by those he trusted most, and the sting of that betrayal burned hotter than any defeat he had ever experienced in the game. In that moment, Max was no longer just a player. He was judge, jury, and executioner, determined to make his friends feel the pain he had endured. The room around him seemed to fade away, replaced by a tunnel vision of vengeance. His hands trembled, not with fear, but with anticipation for what he was about to do. He trapped them in a cage of pure energy, forcing them to relive the terror he felt that night. The digital prison pulsed with a cold blue light, casting eerie shadows on the faces of his former friends. They were powerless, unable to escape the confines of the virtual cell he had created. Every second inside that cage was a reminder of the fear and isolation Max had felt when they turned on him. He watched as their bravado crumbled, replaced by confusion and then panic. The tables had turned, and now they were at his mercy, just as he had once been at theirs. They begged for forgiveness, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. He had his revenge. Their voices, once so familiar and comforting, now sounded desperate and hollow. They called out his name, promising to make things right, but Max refused to listen. The pain they had caused him was too fresh, too deep. He watched their faces contort with regret and fear, but he felt nothing but a cold satisfaction. For the first time, he was in control, and he wielded that power without mercy. The sense of justice he felt was intoxicating, drowning out any lingering doubts. As his friends disappeared from the game, their accounts suspended, Max felt a strange emptiness. The silence that followed was deafening. The laughter, the inside jokes, the camaraderie, they all vanished in an instant, replaced by a void that echoed through the empty room. The glow of the monitors faded, and the once lively chat was now a graveyard of disconnected voices. Max stared at the screen, watching as each username blinked out one by one. The victory he had imagined felt hollow, like winning a battle only to realize the war had cost him everything. The satisfaction of revenge was fleeting. For a brief moment, he felt a surge of triumph, a vindication for all the hurt he had suffered. But as the adrenaline faded, so did the sense of accomplishment. In its place was a growing sense of regret, a gnawing emptiness that no amount of payback could fill. He had proven his point, but at what cost? The faces of his friends haunted him, their pleas replaying in his mind like a broken record. The justice he had sought now felt like a burden, heavier than the betrayal that had started it all. He had won, but at what cost? The room felt colder now, the shadows longer and more oppressive. Max looked at his reflection in the dark window, searching for the person he used to be. The thrill of victory had faded, replaced by a profound sense of loss. He realized that in seeking retribution, he had become someone he barely recognized. The lines between right and wrong had blurred, and he was left alone with the consequences of his actions. The silence pressed in on him, a constant reminder of what he had sacrificed. He had sacrificed his friendships, the very thing that made the game and life worth living. The memories of better times flashed before his eyes, late-night gaming sessions, shared victories, and the unspoken bond that had once united them. Now, those moments felt distant, like echoes from another life. The empty chair at the table was a stark reminder of what he had lost. Max understood, perhaps too late, that revenge had come at a price far greater than he had anticipated. The game was never just about winning or losing. It was about the people who played it with him. He was alone again, more so now than he had ever been. The loneliness was suffocating, a weight that pressed down on him with every passing minute. The room that had once been filled with laughter and excitement was now silent and still. Max tried to convince himself that he had done the right thing, that his friends had deserved what they got, but deep down he knew the truth. He missed them. He missed the connection, the sense of belonging. In his quest for vengeance, he had isolated himself, building walls that no one could break through. He realized that revenge, like a double-edged sword, had cut him too. The pain he had inflicted on others had come back to wound him in ways he hadn't expected. As he sat in the dim glow of his computer screen, Max understood that true strength wasn't in punishing those who hurt you, but in finding the courage to forgive and move forward. The lesson was harsh, but it was one he would never forget. In the end, the price of vengeance was far greater than he could have ever imagined.